Don't crown her queen before she lifts a stone. Most men fall into the trap not because they're weak, but because they're too generous with what should have been sacred. A woman walks into their life, she's beautiful, intriguing, maybe even different, and instantly the man forgets who the real prize is. He forgets the years it took to build his discipline, the pain it took to develop his emotional control, the silence he endured to find his purpose. He sees beauty, and in that moment, he hands over the kingdom to someone who hasn't lifted a single stone to build it. It's a subtle mistake, but a fatal one. Because when you treat her like royalty, before she's even shown loyalty, you don't make her feel special, you make her feel entitled. Entitlement without effort is the fastest way to contempt. As Machiavelli once warned, when a favor is given too freely, it breeds resentment, not loyalty. Why? Because we only value what we've had to struggle for. And when you give a woman the role of the one before she's earned it, you rob her of that very struggle, the chance to fight for something meaningful. You make her comfort the default, and nothing kills desire faster than what's easily accessed. It happens every day. A man meets a woman and assumes she's different. He sends long, emotional texts. He rearranges his schedule to please her. He opens up too fast, sharing pieces of himself he hasn't even told his closest friends. And what does she do in return? She pulls back. Not because she's cruel or calculating, but because she hasn't invested, so she has nothing to protect. Women don't value access, they value earned access. And the moment you donate your time, your presence, your loyalty without her proving she respects them, you remove the weight of your worth. It's not about playing games. It's about protecting your peace. Dangerous men don't rush. They don't fall for potential. They wait for proof. They don't reward beauty, they reward behavior. They don't assume someone is rare, they observe, they measure, they test. And only then, only after she's shown consistency, added peace, and respected his presence, do they begin to open the door. If you're single, remember this: beauty is not enough. A beautiful woman is not rare. A respectful, consistent, emotionally intelligent woman is. Don't let aesthetics blind you. Let behavior guide you. If you're in a relationship, stop praising her for things she did months or years ago. Ask yourself, is she still showing up like she's earning it? Love may be unconditional, but effort never should be. If you're married, understand this deeply. Titles don't freeze time. Just because she's your wife doesn't mean she's still acting like one. Even queens get dethroned when they forget how they earned the crown, because a woman who fights for your attention will defend it like territory. But a woman who is handed the crown before she lifts a single finger will eventually find a reason to burn the castle down. So protect your value. Move with intention. Lead with observation, not obsession. And above all, never give a role to someone who hasn't earned the script. The death of mystery is the death of attraction. She doesn't leave because you were kind, or honest, or consistent. She leaves because she could see the entire map of your emotions, and there was nothing left to discover. One of the most common yet invisible mistakes men make is this: they remove all emotional contrast. They become too predictable, too stable, too safe. And while that might sound like a noble virtue in the world of attraction, predictability is the enemy of desire. You wake up and send the same good morning text. You reply instantly. You're always smiling, always available, always agreeable. She never has to wonder how you feel because she already knows. She never has to guess what you'll say because she's heard it before. She never has to figure you out because you gave her the blueprint on day one. And slowly, without either of you realizing it, the tension dies. The spark fades. The polarity disappears. You become emotionally flatline, nice but invisible. Here's the brutal truth most men never hear. Women don't crave comfort, they crave contrast. They don't obsess over safety. They obsess over the unknown. The most unforgettable men are not the ones who are always warm. They're the ones who make her feel something unpredictable, something raw, something real. The calm before the storm. The moment when she's not sure if you'll pull her closer or walk away in silence. You don't have to be toxic. But you do have to be unreadable at times. You don't have to be dangerous, but you must be capable of danger. Machiavelli said it best. A prince must learn to frighten and fascinate, not simultaneously but strategically. That means knowing when to give softness and when to withhold it. Knowing when to be sunshine and when to be storm. In the early days of attraction, mystery is your greatest asset. You must never reveal the entire emotional map. Be warm, but not always. Be open, but not entirely. Speak with presence, but hold back just enough to make her wonder what you're not saying. Dangerous men move like weather systems. One moment, light and playful. The next, quiet and unreadable. This isn't manipulation, it's magnetism. Because what's easily understood is easily forgotten. But what's felt not explained becomes unforgettable. If you're single, stop trying to impress her with constant contact. Let her wonder why you didn't text today. Let her sit in silence. Let her miss your voice. Then when you do return, bring depth, not volume. Make every interaction feel like a chapter, not a copy-paste. If you're in a relationship, don't let routine become your identity. Break patterns. If she expects kindness, deliver clarity. If she expects softness, show strength. Don't become the man she figured out, be the one she's still trying to understand. If you're married, remember this: security is not the same as stillness. Even a woman who loves you deeply needs to feel something new. Emotionally, spiritually, even physically. Let her rediscover the man she married, not as a memory, but as a mystery still unfolding. Because when a woman doesn't fully own your emotional map, you stay alive in her imagination. And a man who lives in her imagination, he never has to beg for her attention. She doesn't want to be solved. She wants to feel you. Thought understanding her was the key. You studied her love language. You asked about her childhood. You listened deeply when she shared her traumas. You memorized the triggers, the wounds, the unspoken patterns in her words and her silence. And in return, she drifted. Slowly, quietly, like mist escaping through your fingers. You told yourself you were being emotionally intelligent, mature, loving. You thought that by becoming the man who gets her, she would feel seen, safe, and choose you forever. But here's the brutal truth. No one tells you what is fully understood. Stops being desired. Women crave being felt, not figured out. They want to be interpreted like poetry, not solved like a puzzle. The man who reads her too easily becomes obvious, expected, emotionally naked, and there is no mystery left to pull her in. You think connection comes from clarity, but in attraction, clarity often kills curiosity. She doesn't want to be decoded. She wants to feel drawn, unsettled, moved. She wants to wonder what you're thinking, not always know. Machiavelli warned that the man who wants to command respect must appear rare. And in modern dating, that rarity doesn't come from your knowledge, it comes from your energy, your restraint, your ability to hold space without filling it with explanations. The more emotionally fluent you become, the more careful you must be. Because when you show her the full depth of your emotional map too soon, you rob her of the mystery. She stops leaning in. She stops imagining. She stops chasing the unknown. And that's when you lose her, not because you weren't good enough, but because you were too available, too obvious, too solved. If you're single, stop trying to impress her with how well you understand women. Stop mirroring her every emotion. Let her speak without rushing to validate. Let her feel your presence without you needing to always respond. Become the man who listens, but doesn't need to be read like an open book. If you're in a relationship, stop trying to fix every emotional storm. You're not her therapist. You're not her savior. You're her man. Be grounded, not decoding. Show her your stability, not just your empathy. Let her be the one to chase insight sometimes. Let her ask what's on your mind and wonder what part of you she hasn't seen yet. If you're married, understand this: long-term desire dies not from disconnection, but from overexposure. A man who always knows what to say eventually says nothing new. Rediscover silence. Let her emotions rise and fall without you needing to rescue them every time. Let your mystery breathe. Let her rediscover your soul in new seasons, not because you're changing, but because you're not always explaining. Because in love, men are not remembered for how well they understood her. They're remembered for how deeply she felt them. So don't be her mirror. Be her mystery. Don't chase understanding. Radiate presence. And above all, never make the mistake of thinking that reading her will win her. Because the man she obsesses over is the one she can feel but never quite figure out. Power isn't announced. It's enforced in silence. You felt the shift. She said something that crossed a line. She canceled last minute. She laughed at your ambition. And your first instinct to explain, to articulate your side, to give her context, a backstory, a window into your pain. But every word you speak after disrespect bleeds power. Men are taught to communicate, to be emotionally available, to talk things through like adults. But here's what most never learn in the world of power and attraction: explanation is weakness. A boundary that must be explained is not a boundary. It's a request. And requests are meant to be negotiated, ignored, or delayed. But dangerous men don't request respect. They radiate it. When a woman crosses a line and you respond with, "That really hurt me," or "Please don't do that again," you think you're being emotionally mature. But what she hears is, "You can break me and I'll still try to win your empathy." And in that moment, she loses something crucial. Not love, not affection, but respect. And once respect fades, attraction isn't far behind. Machiavelli didn't believe in begging. He believed in control, in strategy, in the silent enforcement of power. He said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And while you don't need to instill fear, you must make your limits felt, not discussed. If she disrespects your time, disappear. If she mocks your values, go silent. If she plays with your patience, withdraw. No paragraphs, no lectures, no dramatics. Just calm, unshakable withdrawal. Because here's the truth. Women don't remember speeches. They remember energy shifts. They remember the man who once called every day, going quiet. They remember a door that used to be open, slowly closing, not in anger, but in unbothered authority. If you're single, stop getting pulled into text arguments, long explanations, and closure conversations. If she ghosts you and returns, don't greet her with questions. Greet her with absence. Your silence is the loudest boundary you'll ever set. If you're in a relationship, stop recycling the same emotional debates. She knows what hurts you. She knows what bothers you. If she's still doing it, she's not confused, she's testing. And every time you explain instead of enforce, she learns that your words are flexible, that your boundaries are emotional suggestions, not commands. If you're married, understand this: long-term intimacy is not sustained by constant conversations. It's sustained by unspoken rules and your ability to enforce them without ever raising your voice. You don't have to dominate, but you must lead. And leadership requires one thing: consequence. Because in the kingdom of love, words are decoration, but actions are law. So the next time she crosses the line, don't beg her to see your pain. Let her feel your distance. Don't tell her what you'll tolerate. Show her what happens when you're disrespected. And above all, never trade your edge for emotional approval. Because when a man moves with quiet authority, when he acts without announcement, when he leaves instead of explains, he doesn't just reclaim his power, he becomes unforgettable. When you cost nothing, you mean nothing. You're always there. She doesn't text back all day, you still send another message. She barely responds, you compliment her anyway. She ignores your presence and somehow you try harder. You tell yourself it's loyalty. That consistency will win her over. That being kind, available, and emotionally supportive will prove your worth. But here's the reality: when your presence is free, your value disappears. In a world saturated with attention, scarcity is power. And what's always available is never valued. That's not pessimism, that's human nature. She gets a good morning text from you before she's even thought about you. She posts a photo, you're the first to react, to praise, to validate. She doesn't ask for your time, but you offer it. She doesn't invest, but you show up anyway. And at first it feels noble, romantic even. But slowly, something darker sets in. You become the emotional butler, the backup option, the safety net. You're no longer the prize, you're the predictable background noise she never really listens to. Machiavelli never knew Instagram, but he understood power. And he wrote, "The value of anything is determined by its scarcity. The same is true with people, especially in dating. The man who's always available becomes invisible. It's not because she's heartless, it's because there's no tension, no effort required, no gravity. And what costs nothing will never make her pause, chase, or remember." The dangerous man understands this. He gives access in layers, not all at once. His time isn't a public service. It's earned. If you're single, look at your behavior. Are you chasing women who haven't shown interest? Are you texting first, following up, validating women who don't reciprocate? You may think you're being persistent, but in her mind, you're being excess. And no one craves what feels excessive. If you're in a relationship, are you the one who always initiates every conversation, every plan, every act of affection? Do you keep the relationship alive by sheer effort, while she simply exists within it? If so, then slowly, without words, she's learning something destructive, that you need her more than she needs you. And desire cannot thrive where the balance is that uneven. If you're married, has your presence become default? Do you jump in to fix, to serve, to anticipate her every mood without her asking? That isn't love. That's emotional dependency, masked as support. You think she'll admire your devotion, but what she really feels is control. And over time, it breeds quiet resentment. Here's the correction. You are the sun. She is not your gravity, you are hers. Your attention is currency. Don't hand it out like a sample. Spend it like a king. Withdraw from the ones who don't invest. Pause before replying. Be kind but unavailable without reason. Make her notice the silence. Make her wonder if she lost something valuable. Not because you're playing games, but because you're reminding her you are not free. Because the man who's always there is the man she stops looking for. But the man who makes her earn his presence, he becomes unforgettable. She doesn't dream about the man who tried to be seen. She remembers the one who moved in silence. Every man wants to be appreciated, to be seen, to be told you're different. You're not like the others. You hold the door. You stay loyal. You listen. You give your time, your energy, your presence, and deep down you hope one day she'll look at you and finally say, "You're the one." But that craving for recognition is your downfall. Because the moment you need to be seen, you're no longer in control. You've placed your power in her hands, waiting for a reaction that may never come. And that's the trap most men fall into. They do everything right, but they do it for the wrong reason. You don't move from principle, you move from hunger. You don't act from power, you act from hope. And here's the brutal truth. The man who craves praise is already beneath the one who chooses when to give it. Machiavelli warned of this dynamic clearly. He wrote, "The need for approval makes men easy to rule." And in the context of modern relationships, this is more true than ever. The moment you seek her validation, you hand her the crown. Not because she asked for it, but because you surrendered it. You become the man who texts to be noticed, who helps just to be thanked, who performs just to be chosen. But the dangerous man, he moves differently. He doesn't speak to be heard. He doesn't give to be seen. He doesn't serve to be admired. He acts because it aligns with his standard, not her response. His presence is enough. His silence is power. His ability to move without needing feedback, that's what makes him untouchable. If you're single, stop curating your identity for approval. Stop doing things just to get noticed. Stop posting, texting, helping just to be labeled a good guy. You don't want to be good. You want to be respected. And respect comes from restraint, not performance. If you're in a relationship, ask yourself, are you trying to prove your love? Are you doing things with a quiet expectation of being recognized? Because every time she doesn't say thank you, every time she overlooks your effort and it breaks you, she learns one thing: you were never moving from power. You were hoping to be seen, and hope is not a strategy. If you're married, don't fall into the trap of invisible service. Being the man who does everything in silence, yet seethes when it goes unacknowledged. That's not strength, that's hidden resentment. Fix it at the root, do what aligns with your values. And then, expect nothing. Because the man who can give fully and still be emotionally untouched, he is the one she can never control. So here's the correction. Stop explaining. Stop hoping. Stop waiting for praise. Move with clarity, not permission. Let your silence speak louder than your explanations. Let your standard define you, not her reactions. Because she may not always say it, but she feels it. The man who doesn't need recognition is the one she can never replace. Presence without power is just noise. How to become a man she can't replace. In today's world, attention is cheap, but presence with power is rare. Most men give too much too fast, hoping to be seen, loved, or remembered. They crown women before those women have shown loyalty. They over-explain their feelings. They chase clarity instead of creating mystery. And in doing so, they lose the very thing that makes them desirable, their edge. The truth is, attraction doesn't die because you weren't good enough. It dies because you became predictable. Easy to access, easy to read, easy to forget. The modern man must understand love isn't sustained by constant effort, it's sustained by contrast, scarcity, and self-control. If you want to be respected, not just wanted, stop trying to win her with availability. Stop explaining your boundaries. Stop needing her to validate who you are. Because a woman may like the man who's always kind, always there, always open, but she remembers the man who was rare, who moved with calm authority, who enforced his standards in silence. Start giving your energy intentionally. Don't reward interest that hasn't been earned. Make your time feel sacred. Make your emotional presence something she has to reach for, not something she can access on demand. And above all, move from principle, not performance. You are not here to be chosen, you are here to choose. When you do something, do it because it reflects who you are, not because you want a reaction. Expect nothing, need nothing, and you'll start to feel something most men never do: true control. Because the man who doesn't beg to be remembered is the man no one forgets.